new segment called Things You Didn't Know. I will be posting several videos about interesting facts about different topics of things you didn't know about them. So then we can each get a little more wealthy when it comes to knowledge. This week it's things you didn't know about Apple, its products, or its founders. Ooh! Let's go. Most people believe that Apple was only founded by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. However, there was another founder, Ronald Wayne. Before founding Apple, Steve Jobs used to work for Atari. Steve Jobs and co-founder Steve Wozniak, who shared the same name Steve, met when Jobs and Wozniak were 16 and 21 years old respectively. Respectively meaning that Jobs was 16 and Wozniak was 21 in the order that they were mentioned. In 1976, Apple's logo was designed with Isaac Newton seated under an apple tree. Rob Janoff designed Apple's current logo. Apple's current logo was based on Apple's first slogan, Bite into an Apple, with bite spelled B-Y-T-E. The first mouse and trackpad were introduced by Apple. There are only 9 states in the United States that do not house Apple stores. These states include North Dakota, South Dakota, West Virginia, Alaska, Arkansas, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, and Vermont. The first computer that was built and sold by Apple sold for $666.66. They got a lot of a bargain there for that price. There are less than 50 original Apple I computers remaining, and they go for around $50,000. Apple's official website is one of the highest ranked websites in the world, as it's ranked in the top 50 most viewed websites in the world and the top 30 in the United States. Apple was started on April Fool's Day. The Apple II has been the best-selling computer, and it's sold for 11 years. Apple once came up with Pippin, which is a standalone game console. Being a heavyweight in the technology world, it's expected that Apple has a large board of directors. However, Apple only has 6 board directors, making it one of the smallest in the Fortune 500. Woo! Apple, way to go! Al Gore was at one point served as the United States Vice President, sits in the Apple's board of directors. According to statistics, individuals who own an average PC spend 50 hours and a year troubleshooting, while persons who own a Mac only spend 5 hours a year troubleshooting. Like Apple says, it just works. When the iPhone was first released, every Apple employee received an iPhone from Steve Jobs. As much as the iPhone was released 3 years before the iPad, Apple began working on a touchscreen tablet before they started working on the iPhone. Duclamer was the codename used to refer to the iPod. There have been different codenames used for Macs, which include Yikes, Gonzo, Jedi, Peter Pan, Malibu, and Rosebud. The team that came up with Macintosh hardware had their signatures engraved inside the case of the computer. Macintosh was originally considered to be a codename by Steve Jobs, and he wanted to change the product's name. For the first time since 1989, Apple's market cap overtook Microsoft's market cap in 2010. $222.12 billion versus $219.18 billion. At some point, Steve Jobs tried to convince NASA to allow him to ride the space shuttle. What more convincing can one need to give? November 10th, 1997 was the day that Apple's online store began. Apple began operating a retail store business since 2001. Steve Jobs was able to convince PepsiCo's president to work for Apple. Steve Jobs used the iPhone during its introduction in 2007 to order Starbucks to let go of 4,000 lattes. Because that's a good combination, caffeine and electronics. Well, you need all that much caffeine there to be able to function to use these electronics for hours on end. Perfectly logical solution. Steve Jobs, in 2007, unsold leases were disposed of in a landfill in Utah. The leases used to go for $10,000. In 1998, Bill Clinton used Steve Jobs' mansion located in Woodside, California. Apple has over 40,000 employees all around the world. George Lucas sold Pixar to Steve Jobs for $10 million, and Steve Jobs later sold it to Disney for $7.6 billion. In the early 2000s, Apple stocks used to go for $8, but in 2010 the stock sold for $272. One of the most photographed landmarks in the world happens to be the Apple Store located in 5th Avenue of Manhattan. This can be attributed to its distinctive cube shape. Steve Jobs has 4 children, 1 son and 3 daughters. At some point, Steve Jobs denied being the father of his firstborn daughter, Lisa Brennan Jobs. The New York apartment belonging to Steve Jobs was sold to U2 singer Bono. January 2007 saw Apple stop using the name computer in its corporate affairs. It's believed that Apple was founded in a garage. However, Apple was founded at a bedroom in 1161 Crest Drive, located in Los Altos. Dog Cow was created by Apple in 1983, and the sound produced by the dog cow is moof. Boy, that's got to be an interesting animal to run into. As always, subbies, thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to do another Things You Didn't Know because I love learning things, as I'm sure you did too. Be sure to comment down below your favorite fact about Apple that you found out or that you got from this video. Click on the subscribe button down below and turn on your notifications by hitting the notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos. Until next time, subbies, sensational smiles go for miles. Be sure to subscribe and stay a while. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, subbies.